If you think about what some AIs can do now, you could pretty much tell them to read all of human writing. If you give me a Shakespearean poem or an Eminem song, people used to die a lot of the time from falling off their horses in 100 or 500 milliseconds. We didn't keep good records, so you don't read about it. It's possible that the average number of traffic deaths will go down if we let AI take over and have robots drive cars and fly planes. This is similar to how people live an extra 30 years these days thanks to antibiotics, hospitals, and modern dentistry. Michael Saylor, founder and executive chairman of MicroStrategy, is no stranger to new technologies and the huge possibilities they offer smart investors. Saylor has been a well-known figure in the investment world for decades, especially for his ability to spot new business possibilities, especially in the tech industry. Many Bitcoin fans know him for his strong support of the leading cryptocurrency. He was named KPMG Washington High Tech Entrepreneur of the Year in 1996. The next year, Ernst & Young gave him a similar award. In 1998, Red Herring magazine named him one of the top 10 leaders of the year. Last year, the executive chairman of MicroStrategy talked to David Lin about his thoughts on artificial intelligence. He said that he saw it as a huge opportunity that could change businesses and make people rich in ways that have never been seen before. Saylor compared AI's exponential growth to that of other technologies that changed the world, like cell phones and the internet. He stressed how important it was to invest in AI early on to take advantage of its ability to make a lot of money. Saylor is still a strong supporter of Bitcoin, but he also sees AI as the biggest chance for business owners, builders, and smart investors right now. Saylor talked about the huge possibilities that artificial intelligence brings and how it could change the world in the next few years in a more recent interview with Graham Stephan and Jack Selby. Analyst Michael Saylor says that AI is the next big thing, and buyers have a short window of time to get in before everything changes. You know, Arthur C. Clarke has a saying that is very well known. When my company went public in 1998, I put it on the back cover of my IPO document. That phrase was really important. That is, he said, any technology that is powerful enough is the same as magic, right? And that's what the great science fiction writers always said, where science fiction meets magic. Like, what is a magic mirror? I talk to myself in the mirror, and then someone replies, now you can look at an iPad or an Apple computer and zoom in on someone in Singapore. You can talk to them, and they can talk back, which is pretty cool. Then they take your picture, plug you into an AI, bring you to life, and put you into cyberspace. And I'm talking to an AI that responds to my hand movements. Do I speak to a person, a monster, a witch, or a god? Where did the science end, you ask? Where did the story start? That made me want to start MicroStrategy, and our idea was to put intelligence everywhere. Okay, let's make everyone very smart. Imagine if I could take every book that has ever been written and put it on an iPad. What would happen? Okay, for a nickel, I just gave 100 million books to 8 billion people. Okay. That's interesting that you're not thinking in a straight line. That's more like second or third order thinking. Okay, let's just make every book non-material, then read every book, and give you something like a professor who has read every book. That's third order thought. You know, you can ask the professor anything. The first thing you should do is ask, hey, can you just give me enough money to print a bunch of books and give you a big library? But, you know, printing the books is insanely expensive for the society, and making you read them is even more insanely expensive. What if the computer printed and read the books? The fourth order says, hey, why don't you just read every book, look over my shoulder, think about what I should do, and then do it. Putting a lot of faith in AI, though. Do you worry about that? And people who aren't self-sufficient might not be able to see through some of that doesn't apply to them or use it too much. Yes, of course. We're all going to think about a lot of things, right? You sit in a tube on a flight and fly 6,000 miles. Oh no, don't go far enough. Yes, the window opens by itself. Without anyone being able to do anything, you'll either freeze or choke and die. But you probably don't think about it at the time. Do you want me to stress you out? Since I'm an aviation engineer by trade, right? The plane could go into a skid if the pilot lets his guard down for 2 seconds and doesn't pay attention to the approach. You're going to lose everything. You can't do anything to change it. Also, do you ever think about what the pilot drank the night before? I'd like to add one more thing. Are we really going to worry about AI bots driving your car? And are you worried about someone taking over the car and, on crashing the AI-driven car? Or next time you go into New York City or wherever you go and you call an Uber, does it occur to you that no matter how well you eat, how well you drink, how well you drink, how well you live your life, how careful you are, how good a shape you're in, that the Uber driver who picked you up in a flash can kill you by driving you off the bridge and there's no way to get your case heard. Okay, unknown driver is pretty much in charge of your life. When you get in a taxi, you should be much more afraid than when you get on an airplane because at least there are 2 pilots and someone to check to see if they're sober when they walk on. By the way, breaking these rules will get them fired. There is also someone else who can land the plane if they lose it, sneeze, or have a seizure. Call you out on it in the odd Uber in a foreign country that's weaving through traffic. Yes, if you think I'm too smart because I only do breathalyzer tests and personality tests on the Uber driver when I get in the car, then you might also think that the guy on the other side of the median strip could just take a drug, drink something, and do this. And there's a point to this. A lot of people used to die when they fell off their horses. We didn't keep good records, so you don't read about it. People who lived before technology in 1950 could expect to live to be 50 years old on average. If you go back in time to 1770, the average age at death was 32. A person could walk by a swamp, get bitten by a mosquito, and die of malaria or a fever. Or they could live in a house that wasn't heated and die of asthma. People died of all sorts of things before technology. Now that we're in the early 21st century, there are a lot of things to worry about. But if we let AI and robots drive cars and fly planes, the average number of traffic deaths will probably go down. In the same way that antibiotics, hospitals, and modern dentistry have made it possible for people to live an extra 30 years, even though they do so at some risk, we can worry about it all. A discussion is going to happen. Democrats will say that you are safer in a car driven by a person than in a car driven by a machine. It's likely not going to happen, but people will think it does. And that's not our job, right? No matter what you think, it will be decided. If you look at world events through the lens of technology, right? Then things start to look different to you. When I graduated from IT, I already knew a lot about science fiction. I was raised in a dream world. I had taken history before, and I've always loved it. But the history of science really opened my eyes to how ideas can change. The paradigm shift is, after all, one of the most basic ideas in science. Everyone knows that doctor. Harvey found that the heart beats blood out through the arteries and back through the veins for 10,000 years. The doctor didn't know what the heart did and didn't believe in circulation. Harvey finds it, but everyone in the medical field says it's not true. We don't believe you at all. They don't believe them, even though they could probably figure this out with some tests. Harvey also says no doctor over the age of 40 will ever believe me, okay? After that, I believe Max Planck said something. He says, science makes progress one death at a time. The Copernican revolution, for example, changed the way people thought about the world and how it revolved around the Earth. This is what Thomas Kuhn calls the structure of scientific revolutions. Unfortunately, your illnesses aren't caused by ghosts and demons. Instead, they're caused by tiny germs in your blood or by quantum uncertainty or relativity that Einstein put forward in the paradigm shift of quantum physics, which Einstein refused. Kuhn says that paradigm changes only happen when the old guard dies or when there are only 2 ways